Please welcome Brian Wilson. Hi, Brian. Nice to see you. Thank you. How are things?
It's good.
Tell me, I mean, the idea of reimagining Gershwin songs and even finishing some Gershwin songs, how did you decide to do this?
Well, the Disney people came to me and they said, would you like to do an album called Brian Wilson Sings Gershwin? And I said, absolutely. You know, I love Gershwin, my idol, all right? Ever since I was 3 years old, his music is going out my ears, you know.
How did you first hear it, Gershwin?
Oh, I was 3 years old. My grandmother played it for me.
Yeah. Does the song remind you of those times? Does it connect you to your grandmother and all that?
Yeah, it does. When we recorded the album, I said, my God, I'm going back in time here. I'm going back in time, you know, to 3 years old.
And so to reimagine it, though, I know that you're a big fan of music and such a fan, and you're a purist in a sense.
Right.
So to take great songs and then reimagine them, I mean, one of them becomes a doo-wop song in here. You've talk about the process of doing that with classics.
I wanted people to really like George and Ira, right? So we took each song, especially I Love You, Porgy, and we wanted to present each song the way George would have wanted it to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how do you guys determine what it is George would have wanted?
Well, I just, by instinct, you know. I just was very careful. Each song, we treated each song separately and appropriately.
So when you hear Gershwin, what do you hear?
Oh, I hear harmony, I hear all kinds of... He's into rock and roll, you know.
Yeah.
George Gershwin is into rock and roll in 2000.
And what's the most rock and roll part of it to you?
Well, on Rhapsody Blue, ba 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 ba. Remember that? Yeah. Ba 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 ba. That's rock and roll.
Nice. And how does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel proud and exuberated. Yeah.
That's a good place to be. When you hear, do you like Beethoven and stuff like that? Do you hear?
I like Bach and Tchaikovsky, but mostly Bach. Yeah.
When you hear Bach, what do you hear?
I hear. What do you think that is? California Girl.
Yeah, nice.
I got the California beat. The California beat from Bach himself.
That's where you got it from. Yeah. So what that would imply then is that music is not something that starts with you, that it's out there and it's just going through the filter of you.
It comes down through my pineal gland, goes down to my bottom of my spine, then It comes back up into my arms, my hands, and then my fingers on the keys.
Nice. So that's why rock and roll gets people to shake their asses so much, is because that's where it goes.
Right.
At a certain point.
Right.
And so it starts here, or are you filtering it from other places?
Well, it depends on the day. You know, sometimes it comes out of me like in 10 minutes. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't come at all.
The idea, I mean, for a guy that's written so many big songs, are you still writing songs regularly?
Yeah, no, I haven't been writing for a while.
No?
Not for a while, no.
Is there a reason for it that you haven't?
No, it's a dry spell. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that people sometimes assume that if you have a gift or if you're going to write songs that it's for forever, but maybe
No, people are wrong about that.
Yeah.
It only comes when it comes of a song. I mean, it's difficult to sit there for 5 years and not be able to write a song, you know. Got to be patient.
And so sometimes patience takes years, right?
Right.
Do you ever feel, for lack of a better phrase, it's like, do you feel like it will come back? Do you want it to come back? Do you need that to come back?
I want it to come back, but I can't force it.
Right.
You know?
Is it frustrating?
Very, yeah.
Do you feel, it's almost like, what? Do you feel almost like you're betrayed by the song gods out there?
Right, exactly.
How do you, is there a system with which you work to try it? Do you play scales? Do you do things like that? Or do you play some of your favorite songs?
What I usually do is I play songs that I know. Not my favorite that I know. Yeah. I'll be in one key and all of a sudden I'll be in another key. And I say, what key am I in here? I don't know. I guess E or B.
What are some of your favorite songs?
Favorite song?
Yeah, that you play.
You've Lost That Love and Feeling, and Be My Baby, and, you know, Phil Spector's song.
What do you make of the Phil Spector scenario? I know he's such a huge influence in rock and roll.
Oh, he was my education. He taught me how to produce records and how to get behind the beat and make that all happen like a wall of sound. You know?
Right. And he taught you that. So when you're watching somebody who's important to you, their life play out in the press, and very negatively, including a big conviction, how does that make you feel?
Well, I feel sorry for those who can't, you know, finish a song. Makes me feel sorry, you know.
It's a hard world out there sometimes, isn't it?
It sure is, yeah.
It's one of those things that, well, much is made about, I mean, your childhood and how, from you know, you felt a lot of pressure from your father to make hit records.
Right.
Did that take the joy out of it?
Not really. It made me. He put a fire under my ass, and it burned. And I said, I'm gonna produce some good records. So I went and produced Good Vibration.
Yeah. I was thinking about you the other day when I knew you were going back on the road,
right.
and how you're going to play some of your solo music and Beach Boys stuff as well.
Right.
When you play the songs and you know that your brothers aren't with you, how does it make you feel?
Well, when I sing God Only Knows, I kind of have a little bit. I cry inside my head, but I don't cry visually. Mm-hmm. But it's tough to sing a pretty song and remember my brother at the same time, you know.
And you know, you go through from the inside. For everybody, we only know about a band or people with high profile from the outside. But when the Beach Boys, when your brothers were to pass away, to grieve publicly, was it much more difficult for you because you knew there was so much, public attention?
No, actually, I didn't pay any attention to the public. I just said, look, I want my Carl back, and I can't.
God Only Knows reminds you of Carl?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Which one reminds you of Dennis?
Do You Want to Dance?
Yeah.
Do you want to dance and hold my hand? Yeah.
What was the one thing that we didn't know about those two guys that you wish we would have known?
Well, there's hardly anything you could know. Dennis was a real fighter, He was a very, very rude person. Carl was just the opposite, very, very kind person.
He was very calm, right?
Yeah.
Dennis, his record, Pacific Ocean Blues, finally saw the light of day.
Yes.
What a great... The River Song is one of the best things I'd heard in a long time.
Rolling it on, yeah.
I love that.
I know that.
When did you hear that first?
1981.
When he presented it to you, because you're considered one of the great songwriters of all time, were they nervous when they presented you songs?
Well, yeah. Yeah, they were. But I said, look, guys, don't worry about me. I'm not going to hurt you. Oh, but Brian, we don't know if you'll produce this or not,
Did you feel a lot of... your father died when you were young. Did you feel a lot of pressure to keep the Wilson brothers going and to keep the musical family going?
Not really, no. No, it didn't affect me that way.
But, when the Beach Boys go on the road now, and Mike Love goes and plays songs, how do you feel about that?
Don't worry about it. I don't worry about it because I have my career.
But you're really young when you stopped touring, right?
Right.
With that band. Going back on the road now. How do you feel about going back on the road now?
I feel like if I don't get my butt in gear and get on that stage and do my songs, then I should quit the business.
Really?
Yeah.
When did you start to feel that?
Yesterday.
Well, that's amazing that you turned it around so quickly and got back on the road. I had heard that you had said before that when you play music, you played loudly. It had helped you with what you're dealing with in terms of some of the voices in your head. Is it still helping?
It's helping a little bit. I took some pills for auditory hallucinations, which I have, and they didn't work.
Mm-hmm. How do they make you feel?
All I know is it's tough to have auditory hallucinations all day long, So it's like someone going, in your face all day long. You learn to live with it,
And so that's what you have all day long?
Yeah, you have to learn to live with it.
That's quite a process, isn't it?
Very much so, yeah.
For you, do you have periods where you're better at dealing with it than others? Does it work like that?
It only works. It works day by day, one day at a time. Some days it's more like, "You're gonna die. We're gonna kill you." Another day is, "Hey, buddy, get going. We like the Beach Boys," or crazy stuff.
That's a really intense place to be every day, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you manage it?
I have a lot of willpower and mind muscle and stuff.
And you have to work the muscle up to get to that place?
Right.
And does it affect you the same way today as it would have 20 years ago?
Yeah.
And so there's no real change in the behavior?
No.
And when you were writing a lot of those songs, did some of that come from there?
No.
And do you ever look at that, does that play a role in your songwriting today?
It has it's infectious. It's like a bug. You catch a bug, and you get something like, "Hey, I think I got something going here," and you go to the piano, boom, boom. It's all about being creative at the piano.
Who are some of the modern day songwriters that you listen to and think this is where we're at?
I have to tell you, 1960s, 70s, yeah.
Like which stuff?
Oh, Let It Be by the Beatles, or My Sweet Lord by George Harrison. And
if you were a Beatle, would you want to be John, Paul, or George? Yeah, I assume you wouldn't want to be Ringo, but...
What I remember, Paul.
You would have been Paul?
Yeah, I'd be Paul.
Hell of a songwriter, right?
Yes.
All right, stick around. We're going to find out what he misses most about the 60s, seeing that you brought it up. More on Brian Wilson right after this. Back here with Brian Wilson. If I were, because a lot of people watching, they may know your music but they have their own relationships with their family and they hear you talk about your brothers or your father. If I were to ask you, what do you remember the most about your dad? What would you say?
Most about my dad?
Yeah.
My spankings. He used to take a belt, believe it or not, and double the belt over, twist it so it's like a double belt. Then you go, whoo, 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 on my butt.
How old are you?
14. Yeah, and he like, every couple of months he'd get mad about something, he'd go, get in the bathroom, get in the bathroom. And I go, wham, wham, and he used to beat me in the ass, It really, really, really hurt my feelings.
Did you live in fear of your father?
Yeah.
How did you get away from that?
Well, when the Beach Boys came along.
Yeah. But he kind of put himself into that world too, didn't he?
Yeah, he kind of helped out too.
Yeah.
The one good thing about my dad that I remember, he did write some good songs. He wrote some very pretty songs. Yeah. I got to tell you that.
And you like when music is pretty, don't you?
I love pretty music, yeah.
Is it partly because it helped you escape from some of the hardships of growing up?
Yeah, kind of it eclipses all the bad memories. It makes you feel like you're really on the top.
If you could, when you think about your dad now, do you think what would you want to say to him?
I say, Dad, what do you think of our albums, or something like that.
And so in a sense it was about being validated by your father?
Right.
How old were you when you started getting into your first LSD trip? How old were you?
I was 22.
What was your reaction to it? How do you feel about that?
The LSD?
Yeah.
Well, the LSD makes you feel a little bit fearful, and like very aware of your surroundings, But after a while, when it wears off, when you go to the piano, man, those fingers glide along those keys like you wouldn't believe, It's like it's just automatic.
That's why it can be so dangerous for artists, right?
Right.
Did you feel that you went too far with drugs because of that?
Yeah, and I wish I hadn't. I regret having taken drugs.
What do you miss most about the 60s?
I mostly miss the joy of running in the studio and recording a #1 record kind of feeling,
Did you know when it was going to be #1? Did you?
Yeah. I knew.
Had a feeling deep inside?
Right. I Get Around was #1. Good Vibrations was #1. Barbara Ann, Help Me Rhonda, all went to #1.
But when those things go to #1, and then, when you did any research on what your life was like and what the Beach Boys' life was, there was so much darkness in your story that the darkness in the story mixed with the great sounds. That was a pretty interesting mix, don't you think?
Well, that's art. Ask any artist in the world, and he'll tell you have to go through a little frustration, before that creativity starts to flow right out of your chest.
Yeah. But it's one thing to be frustrated, and there's other thing for pain.
Right.
And do you have to feel pain to make great art?
You don't have to feel pain. You have to experience it. Yeah.
How do you want people to remember you?
Me or my group?
Well, both. You first, though.
As a good singer, and same with my group.
And do you think? As we get older, we're not in our 20s anymore. Do you think about what happens when you die? Do you think about that part of your life?
I've been thinking about that in the last couple of years. Yeah. I don't like when it's kind of like that. It feels at all.
Yes, it's one of those things that's why a lot of people go to religion, right? It's their only way to get through it.
And that's right. Yeah.
And when you think about, do you think about afterlives and that?
I think my theory is when you die, it's a transition. That you go back, you rechannel back into the same dream, Do
you think you come back as Brian Wilson, this kid who's going to be in the Beach Boys?
I don't know.
As we get older, you get to reflect on your past.
Right.
Do you remember being on the road before you quit playing with them? There was a feeling that you loved the most, being with your brothers?
Well, I loved, just before we go on stage, we pep talk each other. Come on, guys, don't be nervous. Let's get to do a good show. Yeah. I go, Carl, I'm so nervous. He goes, don't worry, Brian, the show's going to be fine. I remember that kind of stuff.
Your relationship with Carl and Dennis, was it always a good one?
Yeah, very good.
What about with Mike?
Mike and I had more of an artistic relationship than a personal.
That's challenging for somebody, because sometimes guys you write great songs with.
Right. It's just that he he and I have, I don't know, we never really got real close to each other, but when it comes to music, it's like that, you know.
Is there somebody you're really looking forward to working with you haven't yet?
Paul McCartney, maybe.
Well, you know, Pet Sounds made him cry, he said.
Well, I cried at Let It Be, you know.
It's pretty fantastic. Good to see you, man.
Okay, man, thank you for
so
the
much.
interview.